Hi everyone, welcome to your weekly readings for the 9th to the 15th of December 2019. Coming sharply through December very quickly towards the end of the year, we've got a full moon in Gemini coming up early on Thursday morning as well. So a busy week astrologically. Jupiter has moved into Capricorn as well, so a big shift in the energies that we're working with. Take the time to get settled in. Sit down or lie down if you're able. Get yourself nice and comfortable. And just start to take a few very nice deep breaths, deeply in through the nose. Just hold for a moment. And as you breathe out, allow all the stresses, strains, and thoughts that you're carrying with you just to leave you. Another nice deep breath in. Just start to feel yourself open up. Start to feel the potential open up for you as well. With the stellium in Capricorn, which is Jupiter, it's Saturn and it's Pluto. There's plenty to be working with. The energy you carry into this and what you're putting out is absolutely going to be hugely influential, effective on both a personal and a collective level across the coming year and also beyond, but especially this year. So the more open you are, the more heart-centered you are, the more you can act with kindness, the more that's going to help your own individual journey, but the more it's going to help us collectively as well. So just breathe, and as you breathe, feel your way into your heart space, feel it expanding, connecting outwards, connecting to everyone else out there. Hi to everyone just tuning in. Hi Anna, Amy, Sarah, Brian, Amber, Super Angry Koala, Tina. Wonderful to see all of you here. Please remember everyone to like and share the video if you're able. I'm going to start off in a moment by getting the picture for the collective for this week, and then we'll move on to the 12 signs from Aries through to Pisces. And whilst I'm doing that, please let me know how you're doing. Please let me know how your week and weekend have been and what you're up to this week. Hi, Dripping in Ice. Thank you. Collective energies for the 9th to the 15th of December. Okay. Hi, Lisa. Okay. The big message that I'm getting is, and it's not an unusual one, but to watch for your reactions at this time, to pause if you feel like you're about to snap at someone or go too quickly. There is this impetus to act, to react, to respond really fast, and that can blow up very fast indeed. And so there's just this need to calm things, go that bit deeper. Don't let the conscious mind take over, because the conscious mind is quick, the conscious mind is reactive, and it's unpredictable at this stage, coming in with the Magician, wanting to be first, wanting to assert yourself, wanting to be on top and in charge. And that can spell problems for you and for other people, and things can quickly get out of hand. Go a little bit deeper. We have the Page of Cups, as a subconscious energy. And the Page of Cups is capable of seeing the beauty in things, but the Page of Cups, if you're not feeling into this energy properly, this may be something that is slightly delusional, paranoid, and, as we said, reactive. So that's the potential mix. That's the potential mix. It's not a time to isolate yourself. It's not a time to close off, but it is a time to ensure that you take your time in your interactions rather than being set off, rather than feeling like you have to get your shots in quickly or even first. Needs to be that much calmer. We've come from this place of the Nine of Pentacles. So we've had some successes, but maybe there's been some loneliness, some isolation, frustration, boredom, I feel. A bit of lethargy, like, oh, what now? What now? And right now, it's about coming back more to the people and situations that we care about in a grounded way. 10 of Pentacles. And yes, this can include being in touch with people ahead of the holiday season, some of whom you feel very warmly about, some of whom you're more apprehensive about. And when it's those who you're apprehensive about, that's especially where you have to watch for those reactions, for feeling antagonized or for being antagonistic. Because there is a warning here, and that is both that you can upset other people, but also that you can wind up isolating yourself, cutting yourself off unnecessarily, not giving people a chance. 4 of Cups as the future card here. Now, the 4 of Cups at its best is being able to say no to the things that are wrong for you. The 4 of Cups at its worst is cutting yourself off, not accepting the love, not accepting the help, support, and joy that is out there. And that's the choice. And that's what you're going to set yourself up for with how well you do, with how you handle yourself this week. Moving into this new Jupiter cycle, moving on to a full moon in Gemini this week, moving towards Capricorn season that's not far away, when the stellium in Capricorn will intensify. Don't feel like you have to assert yourself and your authority above all others. You simply don't. It needs to be slower, calmer, more in balance at this time. I hope that makes sense as a collective energy. I'm going to move on now to the 12 signs from Aries through to Pisces. Collective energies. And now Aries, Sun, Moon and Rising for the 9th to the 15th of December 2019. And please remember, everyone, to like and share the video if you're able. That helps a huge amount. Aries. Aries. Okay, Aries. I mentioned that moving fast. I mentioned going too fast. I mentioned reacting too fast. It's certainly coming through for you, Aries. You're second-guessing people around you. You're second-guessing situations around you. I feel like you're not giving people space. You're not giving them a chance. It's like you've made up your mind about them. You may be harboring some unconscious prejudices in that regard. This may be influencing you to quite a large extent, more so than you might expect, essentially. And this can cause you to close yourself off a bit unnecessarily. This can mean that you wind up a bit unconnected. You're coming in with the Page of Swords, and I feel this is the energy that you're carrying. It's quite a fighty energy, the Page of Swords. It can be about learning, discussing, but I feel here this is more about the conclusions that you've reached and maybe a rigidity in your thinking as well. Not wonderfully healthy, because you might cut people off before they even have a chance. And there is just a need for you this week to be a little bit more generous, to give things a chance to grow, to give people a chance to show who they are, to prove you wrong. For some, this may be a second chance. For others, this is simply not allowing your imagination to get and run away with you. So your challenge is the Ace of Pentacles, and the Ace of Pentacles is, yes, about getting grounded, but it's also about being generous, being willing to offer and receive help. That mutuality of support. It's also a new beginning in these relationships with these people. You may be dealing a lot with earth energies this week. The advice coming through is the Page of Pentacles. Together with the Page of Swords, this suggests that you and whoever you're dealing with possibly know less than you think you do. And that's why you shouldn't be getting so antagonistic so quickly, because you're still learning about each other. And when you're still learning about each other, there's space to grow and build something different. Page of Pentacles is a very, very, I want to say, patient energy. You might be carrying this less patient energy, and therefore you might wind them up unnecessarily. This feels like you can strengthen and deepen connections at this time. It also feels like your relationships to people may start to shift at this time, or just simply become more grounded, more predictable, more stable, and less, I want to say, less emotionally loaded up as well. So if there is some past history with somebody, this feels like a time when you can start to kind of let that go. Don't just assume agendas on other people's part. Get to know who they are and what they are actually looking to do and work with you for at this time. I hope that makes sense for you, Aries. The next sign is going to be Taurus. Taurus, Sun, Moon and Rising for the 9th to the 15th of December 2019. Taurus. Taurus. Okay. Taurus. Taurus. Somebody may really upset you this week, may really push your buttons. I feel like for some of you, somebody may feel like they're attacking your very character. So there may be criticism coming in. You may feel it's quite unfounded as well. It may feel like a big setback. For some of you, this is going to come at work or in studies or similar, and you're suddenly going to feel, I'm not as far advanced as I was. I'm not as far along as I was, and somebody else is trying to hold me back, is trying to hold me down, and I don't like this, and I'm going to push back against it. And I feel like there's a need not to push back against it, because you may just blow the situation up. You may start to sabotage it that bit more. You're coming in with justice. And with justice coming in, the suggestion here is that possibly some of the criticism is reasonable, but also that you need time to weigh things up. Justice is a slow, balanced, patient energy. There's sun and moon there, heart and head. And I feel like you may have one of those on top of the other. unbalancing things, and that causes difficulties. Talked about being slow. You have the Seven of Pentacles showing up. And there's a few things with this Seven of Pentacles, and one that I'm getting very strongly here is actually your needs, your ambitions being more intertwined with this person or these people's than you might expect. This is actually an attempt to help. This is quite mutual. That's why you don't want to be hitting back too quickly. You need time to take this in. You can work out in time if it's fair or not, but this is also, it's that slowing. It's a slow energy. And with these being sunflowers, it's also about being able, I feel, to look this in the face. To look this in the face. Advice? Advice is the Tower. So don't add fuel to it. You don't need to. But what this may cause you to do is let go of a few things. It may mean that some of your lofty ambitions or where you thought you're at, those come crumbling down a little bit. It feels mostly like criticism. One or two of you may be having serious difficulties at work, but it's a situation that is unsustainable, and that's not going to be the case for most Tauruses, but there's one or two of you where it's like you've been clinging on for dear life, and you might be getting just a little bit found out, and it feels like a bad thing, and it can hit really hard. But it's also then about regaining your drive and direction to work in a new direction from there. And it's going to set you on a more correct path, even though it feels very, very harsh coming in for those of you who are dealing with that specific situation. I hope that makes sense for you, Taurus. The next sign is going to be Gemini. Gemini, Sun, Moon, and Rising for the 9th to the 15th of December 2019. Gemini. Full moon in your sign this week, Gemini. Don't get too attached to situations or outcomes or the values or expectations that you might load onto events or people this week until you know what they are, Gemini. Your mind may get ahead of you, but your heart may get ahead of you. For those who are meeting new people, maybe crushing hard, maybe going on dates, maybe getting very, very excited, you might get a little carried away about who someone is to you. You may also get a little carried away about situations that you're facing beyond that. And you need to pull this back just a little, enjoy the moment, and come to an understanding of why it is that you are racing quite so fast and so hard in order to attach certain expectations, I want to say, to what is in front of you. So you can miss the moment when you do so. You're coming in as the Page of Pentacles. So there is this need to be patient, and maybe you've been very patient. Maybe there are things that you've been working on, working to build, working to manifest. You might have been doing manifestation work. You might have been doing spell work. You might have been praying very, very hard. Whatever it is that you've been doing, you've had this expectation, this thing that you've been asking for, looking for, going after, and now something's in front of you and you're like, oh, this must be that. This must be that. I'm going all in and all out. and you might load a lot onto it. Your challenge is not to. Your challenge is to allow this to be what it needs to, whatever that is, without the expectation. It's 3 of Cups. And the 3 of Cups is about connection. It's about enjoyment. It's about the moment. 3 is not the number that you tend to stay on. So this can be a lovely moment, a lovely situation that you're experiencing. But you may detract from that if you demand that it be something more or something else than it actually is. So you need to slow down on it. Your advice is the Hermit. Don't give so much of yourself away. Don't load so much into things. Have a critical mind and stay grounded. Don't plan the rest of your life based on one interaction or one piece of news. You've got to come back to yourself and come to an understanding of why you are loading so much onto this, Gemini. I hope that makes sense for you. The next sign is going to be Cancer. Cancer, Sun, Moon and Rising for the 9th to the 15th of December 2019. Cancer. Cancer, you're already over attached, probably to someone. I want to say to someone for a lot of you. It feels like you have a pleasant connection with someone, but you may be getting a little dependent on them. Or like with Gemini, you might be loading too many expectations on. You might just be expecting the things to stay exactly as they are. This person is always going to be here, just there, right next to me, where they're within reach. Very simple, very straightforward, except it may get stirred up. So you're coming in with the world this week. You're coming in with the world. You're very content. I've made it. I've got there. This is wonderful. I feel safe. I feel supported. I feel like I am where I want to be. And just as you get a little overcomfortable, a little overconfident, we get a 6 of Swords, which is a bit of distance. And that can be mental distance or it can be physical distance as well. But this is just a challenge to you. It's a challenge to you in terms of how you relate to this person. If it's not a person, it's a situation, but it's something that you're relying on a bit too much. And it just starts to pull away just a little. And it's not a departure, it's not a breakup, but it is pushing you to take that additional responsibility for yourself, Cancer. Your advice is not to fight it. It's the Hanged Man. Not about fighting it. It's about accepting this as a natural development, allowing this to shift, change, morph, because it doesn't have to be a bad thing. It's a growth process for this situation, for the energy that you're taking up within it, and it's a growth process for yourself as well. And that needs you to embrace that uncertainty. That needs you to accept the independence of this person or situation that goes beyond you, and therefore your role within it as well. This is giving you space to occupy space in other ways as well, Cancer. It's giving you a little kick just to do a bit more in other parts or areas of your life, and just to be that tiny bit more responsible for yourself. I hope that makes sense for you, Cancer. The next sign is going to be Leo. Leo's sun, moon, and rising for the 9th to the 15th of December 2019. Yeah. 3 majors for you, Leo. So now avoiding this one, and that's appropriate because it's avoidance of situations, avoidance of reality that I feel is your major issue at this time, as you come in with death. This is a very powerful death card in this deck. It's about growth. It's about shedding the old. It's about being able to move forward empowered and lighter. However, I feel like rather than do that, you're clinging on to situations a little. You are getting a little bit down, a little bit paranoid, a little bit seeing the worst possible outcome from every little thing that comes in. So it's the energy that you're carrying at this time. So you're not really allowing things to flow. You're not really allowing things to move. And that is what is causing you so many difficulties, because you've got a little bit too comfortable, a little bit too static. And now things are being shaken up to make you a bit more dynamic. The challenge is the wheel. You can appreciate where you've been, what you've done, what you've had in your life recently, whilst also allowing it to shift and change, as you also need to shift and change in the midst of this. You can stare into your reflection for as long as you want, but what you will find is that as you do, the longer you leave it, it just gets a bit murkier, a bit less satisfactory, because the situation that you're in is not stable and it's just starting to come away a little bit. But that doesn't have to be a bad thing. This can also be about renewal, and this can be about regaining a bit of personal power with the Magician, thinking of new ways to operate, essentially. So in terms of how this is going to play out for different Leos, the sense that I get is big changes in work, potential changes in family dynamics being the main ones. It doesn't have to be restricted to those. And actually, Leo, a big part of you was also getting a little frustrated, a little bored, and yet you are not happy because you're not the one driving it. Well, what is leaving or changing within your life is not under your control, but what is under your control is what you start to focus on, where you start to place your energy in place of it, Leo. This is what's critical for you, is being able to take that responsibility to be like, okay, maybe this wasn't forever, at least in that form, but here's what I can be doing. Here's what I can be focusing on. Here's where I can be going at this time. This is the effective use of my energy. I'm not just going to mope for too long or assume that everything else is doomed to failure. I'm going to accept this for the transitional phase that it is. I'm going to emerge from this transitional phase stronger, more in control. This is making me more adaptable. It's making me more dynamic. And ultimately, it's making me freer. I hope that makes sense for you, Leo. The next sign is going to be Virgo. Virgo, sun, moon, and rising for the 9th to the 15th of December 2019. Virgo. Virgo, excuse me. Okay, Virgo. Virgo, if you keep looking for something new, different, exciting, or simply the same things, but things that feel good are good, you only focus on things that make you feel good, that are positive to you, and you ignore all the stuff in the background, what do you think is going to happen? What do you think is going to happen as the stuff that you're ignoring piles up and is untouched? Pile of bills, pile of dirty dishes. Probably won't be dirty dishes, you Virgos, you hate them, but you get the idea. Something in the background that you've kind of ignored for a bit too long, Virgo. You got to put some attention and focus there. You're coming in with the Four of Swords. So I feel like there's a situation that you've avoided dealing with, avoided addressing. Too difficult, too painful, too complicated. It's going to be awful. I don't want to go there. No. Lots of reasons not to. Lots of reasons not to, except it's unresolved. And when it's unresolved, you're lugging it around or dragging it behind you, and it's slowing you up, and you don't even realize it's slowing you up. But what you're exhibiting is a form of avoidant behavior. What did I say about always looking for the positive? What's the shadow here? It's the sun. Always looking for the positive, always looking for the light, not touching the more difficult aspects, but you need to, because they're going to burn you otherwise. So your challenge is to get on top of that. Four of Pentacles, you've got to be in charge of your life. Four of Pentacles coming in with the Four of Swords. So we're dealing with an Emperor energy here. This means responsibility. It means being in charge. It means taking account of things. It means writing up what you need to. It means itemizing things. It means making sure that you don't neglect this stuff just because it's uninteresting or upsetting to you. What's your advice? Ten of Swords. Ten of Swords. So maybe if this is a personal situation that you've avoided dealing with, maybe it's going to be an ending. Any other situation, it's still something that's been occupying you on some level. You've not been focusing on it consciously, but it's still been occupying you. And as you actually get to grips with it, deal with it, take responsibility for it, you're going to get released mentally from that situation. Is it a nice one? No, it's a Ten of Swords. It's fucking horrible, but you got to do it. You got to do it, Virgo. You can't just ignore this and hope it goes away, because it isn't. Okay? and it will bother you, and it will fuck up other parts of your life the longer you leave it. I hope that makes sense for you, Virgo. The next sign is going to be Libra. Libra sun, moon and rising for the 9th to the 15th of December 2019. Libra. You're a little over-determined in a situation, Libra. It's a situation that affects other people as well. And because you're a little over-determined, but you're also Libra, so you can be passive at times, this might lead you to act in a slightly manipulative way. And you think you're being really clever about it, but you're not. It's quite transparent, even though you're not being open about it. And as a result of that, you may get some pushback. You may be getting that little bit carried away as well with your fantasies, with what is in your imagination, with where you want something to go, and you've already decided that it has to go that way on some level, and that's why you're pushing this agenda even though you're pretending not to, because of course you're Libra, so you're also passive, so you wouldn't dream of that, except it's exactly what you're doing. You're coming in with the 7 of Cups. Lots of ideas, lots of thoughts, lots of fantasies, and a potential agenda that is getting ahead of yourself. Challenging your advice, I have the King of Wands. I also have the Queen of Wands. So you may be setting up a bit of a fiery clash without meaning to, Libra. Who's going to get burned? You, them, both of you? Is it going to blow up in your face as you try to add fuel to the fire? Because it doesn't have to. It doesn't have to. And you can have fantasies, you can have dreams, you can have wishes and places where you want things to go. However, it's supposed to be diplomatic. These things have to be negotiated. You have to wield your power fairly. If you're coming in as a queen here, you have to wield your charm fairly as well. Because you're up against somebody who is your equal on this. So playing games, being manipulative, that's not going to wash, Libra. Why you have to be clear, why you have to allow the other person to input into the situation, why this has to be balanced, it has to be mutual, so as you get a controlled burn rather than a blazing forest fire. What drives you? 5 of Cups. You're expecting the worst. You've had disappointments before. You're expecting this to be disappointing, so therefore you're steering it in advance. But this is a new person. You're not allowing them to have a chance, and you need to take your foot off the gas just a little and be light, be open, be optimistic, but communicate. Take the other person's desires on board and work with them to create something instead. I hope that makes sense for you, Libra. The next sign is going to be Scorpio. Scorpio, Sun, Moon and Rising for the 9th to the 15th of December 2019. Scorpio. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I feel like you're in charge of a group of people this week, Scorpio, or else there's a lot of people looking to you. So you're influential at this time. A lot of people paying attention to you. Not a lot of people, maybe a small number, but there are people who you have a strong influence over at this time. And you need to wield that power wisely and fairly. You need to be kind, you need to be loving, you need to be supportive, but you need not take advantage of those people around you, Scorpio. This isn't about grabbing control. For those who need to hear it, it's not. Okay? Coming in with the Hierophant, this is where you're at. People looking to you. You're a source of wisdom. But what you, I feel, may do is mistake that wisdom or that support, what you can offer here, what you have access to, for you yourself. It's where it may inflate your ego, where you may get a little out of control. Rather than you accepting this is just a role that you're playing or something that you're tapped into, something that you've accessed, but it doesn't belong to you. The challenge is the Page of Pentacles. Your advice is the Knight of Cups. So these may be people who are in a student relationship to you. This is also about you, I feel, accepting that you are still learning. You're still a student of life yourself, Scorpio. Even though you feel like I've got all this refined knowledge on this, it's like, actually, you've got plenty more to learn. So calm the fuck down. And if someone literally is your student, by the way, don't abuse your position to start some entanglement with them, Knight of Cups. Don't. What you can do with those around you is be kind, loving, open, honest, but don't blur that. Don't blur those lines. There is space and potential for that this week for some Scorpios, and you need to not. You really, really need to not, Scorpio. If that's you, and we talked about quick reactions and not thinking things through right at the start of this video, that may play out for you. Treat other people with dignity, kindness, and respect. They'll do the same with you. You have something to offer. That's why they're coming in your direction. That's very, very good. Just don't get carried away with it. Not all about power, Queen of Wands, okay? Calm it down. Calm it down. I hope that makes sense for you, Scorpio. The next sign is going to be Sagittarius. First card has jumped for you, Sag. Sagittarius, Sun, Moon and Rising for the 9th to the 15th of December 2019. Sun still transiting your sign, Sagittarius. Okay. 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 Someone feels like they might be drifting from you, Sagittarius, or there may be a situation drifting from you, but I feel your heart sinking just that bit. And when your heart's sinking like this may also be you overreacting a little bit to what is in front of you. So maybe you have a partner or someone you're close to who is going to be taking a bit of a time out or taking some time away. Maybe they're traveling to deal with a personal or a work matter and you can't go with them. Maybe a work opportunity or a contract is drifting away or changing a bit and you're fearing the worst. And this is something that you've worked away at, but it's not necessarily going how you want it to. This is tricky. It's challenging. Affects what you might have taken for granted, affects your personal resources, affects your personal power. It's a challenge. And remember the Eight of Pentacles. So you've been putting in the work. You've pushed yourself quite hard. Maybe you're getting appraised at work and it's not going as well as you thought it was going to. Either way, it's a Five of Cups situation that you're dealing with. So it's not nice, it's upsetting. You're feeling let down. You're feeling let down, and maybe you overinvested in something or someone. Loaded too many eggs into one basket, and now you're going to have to readjust. You're going to have to change it because this is something that can't exist in its old form anymore. Your advice is the Tower. You can't resist it. Part of this as well, therefore, I feel is to do with old dreams, visions, plans, intentions, things that you had decided you were always going to want, you're always going to work towards, and now it's coming, but maybe it's not actually right for you anymore. Maybe you've shifted, maybe you've evolved, maybe you've changed, and therefore those old paradigms, those old ideals, those old desires and wants, they're not going to suit you anymore. And that's why that is just starting to move off into the distance, is so as you have space to redefine those things, to check and make sure that really is still what you want to work towards. Because if it's not, then why are you going to still do that? Out of habit, loyalty, rigidity, it doesn't work. It doesn't. This is a little bit of something being broken down a bit so as it can be rebuilt in a slightly different form, Sagittarius. And I don't feel like it's necessarily hugely dramatic, even though this is the Tower, because the Five of Cups is not that difficult. It's a disappointment. It's not the end of the world. But there's a need to reevaluate, to readjust just that little bit, and to let go of whatever is outdated, outmoded, and doesn't serve you and the direction that you actually need to go in from here anymore, Sagittarius. I hope that makes sense for you. The next sign is going to be Capricorn. Capricorn, Sun, Moon, and Rising for the 9th to the 15th of December 2019. Capricorn. Let's talk a bit about stories, Capricorn. The stories you tell yourself, about who you are in relation to the world. about how you act in certain situations, how you operate in certain situations or around certain types of people, the roles that you play. What's important to you, where you're going towards, what you need, what you don't need. How rigid is this list, Capricorn? I'm this, so I always do this and 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 this. When I'm in this situation, I do this and I play this role, and you get the idea, Capricorn. You get the idea. Are you overcommitted to certain views or beliefs, including about yourself, narratives that you give yourself, things you say about yourself and about your relationship to the world and to other people? Have you overcommitted with the Lovers? Have you trapped yourself, Capricorn? Are you clinging that bit too tightly to that? Because it's worked for you in the past, it feels familiar, it feels safe. It's been your route to getting to certain places that haven't necessarily fulfilled you actually in the longer term. This is a reevaluation question for you as well. Your challenge is the Hermit. So you got to get in touch with yourself, Capricorn. Not your projected view of yourself, not the stories you tell about yourself, not the rehearsed scripts, the ones that you've learned and done to death, but what you are, who you are, where you're at deep down, Capricorn, because it feels like that is going to be illuminating for you, and it's going to allow you to make certain changes, shifts and steps which open up new beginnings and new possibilities for you. But you got to do it seriously. You got to take it seriously. You've got to use this opportunity to get rid of what doesn't serve you anymore and what is keeping you locked in place and in familiar patterns. Your advice is the Ace of Wands. You got to torch what is in the way, Capricorn. You got a clear space, you got a clear room to go about things a bit differently, to grow into somebody new, to grow into who you need to be in this coming period. The strength of Capricorn energy in the coming time, with Jupiter there, with Saturn there, with Pluto there, with the South Node there, with the Sun there very shortly. Other planets rocking on through Capricorn as well, like Venus is in Capricorn now. This is a lot of Capricorn energy, and what you can't do is just cling to how things have been. It's not going to work. Not individually, not collectively, especially not for you, Capricorn. It's just not. That's why you've got to take the time to reevaluate. You're going to go at some things very fresh indeed. This is transformative. I hope that makes sense for you, Capricorn. The next sign is going to be Aquarius. Aquarius, Sun, Moon and Rising for the 9th to the 15th of December 2019. Thank you, Intuitive Gem 33. Aquarius. You're holding yourself back a bit, Aquarius. Holding yourself back a bit from asserting yourself upon the world. Holding yourself back a bit from building things that are lasting from making commitments that mean that you have certain responsibilities, that mean that there are things that you need to follow through upon. And yet you need to. You're needed in this role at this time, Aquarius. So why are you avoiding it? You're coming in with the Six of Cups. Again, these are, I feel, familiar stories. Ways that you view yourself, but also familiar ways of doing things, of relating to things. And maybe as well past disappointments. So you've gone to assert yourself in the past, it hasn't worked out, and you've pulled back, you've pulled away, you've withdrawn, you've gone and kind of hidden in the corner, licked your wounds a bit. But you don't need to keep licking your wounds. Your challenge is the King of Pentacles. Your advice is the Two of Wands. So you have to go about things in a new way. And this is about being more solid. This is about kicking that bit more arse. This is about creating things that are lasting, investing in things that are lasting. And you can't do that if you're not putting yourself into it. If you're not really investing your own energy and your own physical work and labor into them. Because then it becomes flighty, it becomes half-assed. You might be wondering, why am I not getting the things that I want? Why am I not achieving the things that I truly want? And the answer is you're blocking your own way. You're blocking your own way. Out of fear, out of reluctance to invest in something, out of a belief that you don't have the staying power, even though you do, Aquarius. This is what's going to have to shift at this time. It's taking those opportunities, putting yourself into things, putting yourself out there in front of people, taking risks, being willing to go this extra mile at this time. I hope that makes sense for you, Aquarius. The next sign is going to be Pisces. Pisces, Sun, Moon and Rising for the 9th to the 15th of December 2019. Pisces. Okay, Pisces. Pisces, you're caught between two modes of being. You're often a daydreamy sign. You're very dreamy at this time. You're dreamy as, I feel, an avoidance, as a getting away from things, and that's okay. That can be healthy unless you disappear entirely into fantasy, which can bring with it paranoia, delusion, and avoidance of what's in front of you. And I do feel like you've been under some strain. You have. Things not going well, pressures being placed upon you. Extra difficulties, extra demands upon you, things that haven't quite come off, haven't quite gone through, and in your frustration you've therefore gone where it feels safe, and that's okay, but there needs to be a bit of a balance here. You're coming in with the 10 of Wands. And because things are so constrained around you, you're reaching out from that into that dreamscape to see what else is out there. What drives you from beneath is the 10 of Cups, where you actually want to be, but what you haven't built. What you want, but you haven't actually worked towards, and that's where it gets difficult, is there has to be a balancing here. You do have to live in reality at times. I know it's not fun. Can be, doesn't feel like it for you at the moment. I have the Page of Wands showing up for you. I also have the Four of Swords showing up for you. This is that balancing. This is that balancing. You got to get to grips with certain things in reality. You got to assert yourself on the material world that little bit, Pisces. You've got to deal with the stuff that is piling up or that is getting in your way or getting to you. And you got to take a break from it with the Four of Swords. Balance your time, manage your time. Stop making it one thing or the other. Do you want to do this stuff? No, you don't. You want to be somewhere else doing something else. But you're here and you got this stuff to deal with. And it's only gonna get more messy if you don't get to grips with it. Page of Wands is also, I feel, an opportunity to bring someone else in as well, though. So you can bounce ideas off other people in terms of how you deal with this. But it does need to be practical. It does need to be focused on what's in front of you. It can't just be escapism. You've got to put something in yourself here. I hope that makes sense for you, Pisces. That is all 12 signs. Thank you all so much for being here throughout those. I have time to pull cards for a couple of people now. If you have a question for me, please pop it in the live chat and I will see which of you I am drawn to. Please remember, everyone, to like and share the video and to subscribe and enable notifications. If you'd like to book a personal reading or an astrology reading, my details for that are just in the box below. If you book in the next day and use voucher code 2year, then you can get 15% off. If you value my work and would like to leave me a donation, my PayPal details are also just in the box below. If you'd like to connect with me for any other reason, interview with me, collaborate with me, book me for an event, again, you can contact me, and everything you need to know is right there. Let me see if there are any questions coming through. Anna is asking, Christopher and I had a fight. What does Christopher feel about what happened? What does he want me to do for us to be able to talk things out? It's mostly about communication, Anna. You see, I feel like you're dealing with someone who's quite high-handed, coming in as the Hierophant. This might be someone who acts like a bit of a know-it-all, doesn't like discussing things. Meanwhile, you're feeling things very deeply as the Queen of Cups. This is affecting you on a big way. You might be taking on too much responsibility here as well. Page of Swords does symbolize communication. That is what's needed. There is discussion needed, but there's only so much you can do if the other person is acting so rigidly and high-handedly. So you can give that a go. You absolutely can. But I also feel like you shouldn't give too much away, because I feel like this is somebody who, as I said, is quite rigid and may not be acting particularly fairly or within your interests. I hope that makes sense for you. Rose Gold, I read for you on that question literally 4 or 5 days ago. I don't read on the same question repeatedly, and I've given you guidance on what you can do around that question, and you have to go and follow that. You can't just ask the same question, because all that's doing is signaling to the universe and to spirit that you're not actually doing your part of that. Stephanie Fay is asking, I would love to have some insight on how I can become clearer on who I am and hone in better on my soul purpose for this lifetime. Okay, Stephanie Fay. The answer is exactly what you expect it to be, Stephanie. And it's what it is for most people who ask the soul purpose question. It's about healing. It's what most of us are here to do before we do anything else, is heal. So in you come with the Three of Swords. Past experiences, your relationship to yourself, potentially the influence other people have over you, which can be useful to an extent. But this is about getting to know yourself that bit better, that much deeper, reaching down, reaching into yourself, Stephanie. Places that you fear to go with the moon, the things that might have hurt you in the past with the Five of Swords, these are the conflicts that you're dealing with. What you do when you've worked on that, you can start to set your own agenda. But this is the stuff that's being held off, and this is what usually comes up for most people who ask the soul purpose question. Your own healing is your priority. That is what's going to benefit you. That's what's going to benefit the world. That's what's going to help to bring about an energetic shift. It's what's going to help you to see in a clearer and broader way, conceptualize new ideas, new ways of doing things. I hope that makes sense for you. Thank you all so much for being here. Thank you all so much for your questions. I will see you all again really soon, almost certainly for the full moon, which is coming up early on Thursday morning. So the video will be a day or two before that. Again, please feel free to get in touch if you'd like to book me or make a donation towards my work, which allows me to keep doing this. I'm going to wish you all a wonderful, wonderful afternoon, evening, night, or morning, depending on where you are in the world. Thank you again. I'll see you all again really soon.